pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adam, roll call, please.
Counselor Sanchez.
Here.
Counselor Thorstad.
Here.
Pro Tem Mueller.
Here.
Counselor Trask.
Here.
Counselor Corley.
Here.
Counselor Richards.
Here.
Mayor Coleman.
Present. That's 7 present and 0 absent. Moving on to the consent agenda. Counselors, keep in mind that the minutes from the last meeting are not in here as the city has encountered some technical difficulties, but there is an item on the consent agenda. You can either have that pulled to review later, or you can make a motion to approve.
A motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Adam, call for the vote, or, Angela, call for the vote, please.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Thorstad,
Yes.
Pro Tem Mueller,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Counselor Gorley,
Yes.
and Counselor Richards.
That's 7 ayes and no nays. Moving on to recognition of visitors and hearing of petitions. Is there anybody out there who would like to come forward? I think I have Keith Sullivan. You're welcome to come forward at this time. Welcome, Keith. When you come up here, please give your name and address for the record.
My name is Keith Sullivan. Address is 5050 Mountain First Street, apartment number 104.
Thank you. And what brings you here tonight?
I just needed to bring a couple of things up, and it's really about crosswalks. I realize that the county takes care of this, but they have to take a big thing in consideration now. You've got urgent care at 49th and Main. That opens up the first of the month. You've got Wiley Creek Memory Care. That opens up the first of the month. You're
Mhm.
talking about a lot of traffic there.
Mhm.
And it's kind of strange to me that they wouldn't energize these things when they're only not even 3/4 of a mile away from assisted living. And not everybody's going to be able to take a cab or something like that. So that's more traffic going down Main and more.
Mhm.
And, that's a little like I was almost hit downtown last weekend. One guy stopped in front of Bi-Mart, and that's that full crosswalk.
Mm.
And the other one came within 1.5 feet of hitting me.
Wow. Mm.
So, I'm a vet. And I've paid my dues along with everybody else in that place. There's a lot of vets in there. And that definitely needs to be addressed like yesterday
Yes.
in due diligence.
Well, we appreciate you bringing this forward. I think it helps to have our citizens express their concerns. It has been a frustration for the city as well. We've been waiting for Pacific Power to get some power to those and ODOT to wrap up their services to that intersection and others. But I think you drawing attention to the traffic that's going to be coming to urgent care as well and to the memory center. I think that's a good point. And we will continue to contact ODOT and Pacific Power to try and make those things happen. Do we have any updates from staff that would be beneficial at this time? Okay. We keep asking, we'll continue to ask, but we appreciate you coming forward.
Tell
So,
them it's a very urgent thing because somebody can get killed just
Yep.
going over to Hilltop.
yep, I agree with you.
And you don't want some 70-year-old gentleman or lady getting killed. That's not pretty good publicity.
No. Well, we also care about our citizens, so we don't want anybody harmed. So thank you for coming forward and discussing this matter with us.
And the other thing is we're still, and this, I've been there for 1.5 years, and we're still having problem with the post office. They're the only entity that brings any type of package or mail that will not go inside. All of our mail is left outside in a tub that says U.S. Postal. If we have to outgoing mail, we have to take it to the mailbox outside and turn it upright so they will take it. Now, we've got a lot of us there that still pay bills by checks, okay? Not everybody is totally in tune with the internet. Now, you're putting a big risk right there to the people that live there having their identity stolen or anything like that, a package stolen. That could be meds that says keep refrigerated always. And I don't see what their problem is. They won't fix the boxes. They won't fix the outgoing box that are inside, and they just refuse flat out to come in.
So where's this located at, that this issue
Wiley
is happening?
Creek
At
Assisted
Wiley
Living.
Creek. Okay, okay. So we can talk to the postmaster and express our concerns with that situation. So I will do that.
Youngest there at 57.
Mhm.
Everybody else is basically 75 and above. And they can't get out to come to one of these meetings.
Yeah.
So I told them I would.
Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate that. I will go personally and speak to the postmaster and ask about what's happening with Wiley Creek's mail.
I would greatly, greatly appreciate it, and so would everybody else there, trust me.
Okay,
It's a worry for us every day.
okay. I will do that.
Well,
Thank
I
you
hope
so much.
ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen have a very blessed evening, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Yes.
Very
thank you
well.
for your service.
It was my pleasure and my honor.
Yeah, thank you.
Madam Mayor, I've got a question, not a question, but that place by 49th is definitely in the wrong spot. Because they still come over that hill at 90 miles an hour. Now, not that fast, but they're 60 miles an hour. And we've had, I think, I'm not 100% sure. We had 3 or 4 deaths right there because people going across there. And not now, but they still come, log trucks come over there at 50 miles an hour. And you cannot see them in time to get stopped. You can't. I mean, and you're going to run over somebody, and it bothers me. It really does. I mean, on 2 or 3 of those, you go down there and somebody's killed in a unit like he's got going around, and it just drives me nuts. It isn't the right spot, and they don't have the lights on them, for crying out loud. I wonder what the ODOT's going to get on that. You want to make a bet on that? Probably not, because we don't have a clue when they're going to get them.
And to add
And
that,
13th Avenue, 13th is the same thing. It's still not got the lines across there.
as my question is still the stripes. 10th
That's a
and
safe
13th.
issue.
I came to a stop right there at 10th in front of A&W. And I was stopped and this car was flying right along in the right lane. And the guy had his head down. He was looking to the ground. He wasn't even looking up. And he come right in front of my pickup. And if he hadn't have just flinched back, he was gonna get plowed. It was too close for comfort. So, and there's no stripes.
Yes.
So staff, we've all been discussing this quite a bit because this is a concern, as well. As we have mentioned, we have been reaching out to ODOT and trying to find out when we're going to have an update and when these things are going to get finalized. They were supposed to have been finalized a while ago. So this is one of those pieces that unfortunately we don't have much control over. However, we can continue to try to work with them. For a while, they were very responsive, and so we're hoping to get back to that. So we're trying to find out exactly what's going on there. Besides that, we are also looking at what we can do as a city besides relying on ODOT. So one of our questions for them is, Director Larson had mentioned that ODOT seems to be looking at only having crosswalks where there are full stoplights. And so this is one of those things that we're trying to find out if that's correct. And if so, if we as a city can come back in and add crosswalks even where they're not adding crosswalks. And this is actually an initiative I would like to discuss even further on ways that if we can add those crosswalks, what are additional things that we could do to make it even more noticeable? We've been talking about potentially painted crosswalks that could be brightly colored and things like that that might cause cars and vehicles to notice it even more and hopefully stop. So we are looking into this. We are reaching out to ODOT and we hope to have some direction soon.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item on our agenda. Oh, if there are any other visitors that would like to come forward? No? Moving on, there is no old business. We're going to start with new business, and I'm going to rearrange the agenda just slightly. We're going to start with letter C, request for council action reviewing and approving the contract for the visitor center. So do we have a staff report on that?
We do, and I just realized that's me. So, so we have had a contract with the Sweet Home Chamber of Commerce since 2016, where we have been providing funding for the visitor center, about $15,000 each year. And that contract just expired in August. We had been discussing some other potential pieces on whether or not the chamber might want to move in next door. As we kind of had talked about, they've decided they would like to stay where they are. So we're now bringing this contract forward to all for review, discussion, and potential approval. We also have the chamber director, Legia, here. If you have any questions regarding the contract. There is one change, and Legia, if there's anything that I have missed as well, please let me know. There is one change in that there's not going to be the same open hours on Saturday, but otherwise, I believe the contract is primarily the same.
Any questions, counselors?
Come on up. Thank you.
Name and address for the record.
You don't know who she is?
The GMO, 1575 Main Street, the chamber's address. So the other change that I am presenting is to, even though, okay, I'm not going to say that I enjoy coming here. I love seeing you all in other avenues, but to actually do an annual report instead of a triannual report. So it would still, that would be my biggest, because it does take time and effort to, you know, generate that. So that was the other major change.
Thank you.
On there, but it's still split with a 3 payment. So that, but was there any other questions?
Madam Mayor, may I?
Yes.
Hi, Legia.
Hello.
Can you tell me how many businesses are involved with the chamber right now on their registering with you guys? And then secondly, if you're not going to be open on the weekends, what's the volume of visitors that we're going to miss by not having that opportunity? And are you adding additional hours to the week?
That was not what was presented, but however, we can have a discussion about that. We really haven't seen a lot of movement. I actually, on Fridays, usually the visitors I get are on Thursday because people are actually heading out. It seems to be they're heading out of town on Thursdays during the summertime. So on Fridays, I can sit there and it's crickets. There's really not much going on Friday, and which is nice for me. I can do spreadsheets and things like that. But as far as chamber members, we're up to 134. So it's steadily climbing. So we're heading in the right direction and getting some ones that haven't. I think I said this in my last report. Businesses that hadn't been members since like 2017 are coming back around. So and so that's a good thing. So no, that wasn't what I had put in here, but that doesn't mean that we can't, you know. Yeah.
Any other questions of counselors?
Not so much question. I just think that Legia is doing a great job. I think the chamber's doing a great job. I think with our council having a liaison from council there on a regular basis, you don't need to try report. I think once an annual is enough because that's what our liaison's for, is to keep us updated what's going on with the chamber. I just think it's a great job, and
Thank you.
I still believe in the subordinate. And only one question hasn't pertained to that: is you're going to paint your building? Just throwing that out.
Yeah, right. It had been recently painted white. The property owner loves that color scheme of white with the green trim. So that is, but Yeah, it doesn't seem like we will be changing the color scheme of our building. So
Just curious.
it was worth a shot. I asked the same question, so
Thanks, Lucia. Keep up the good work.
thank you so
I have
much.
a question.
Yes,
I mean, a
sir.
concern. I really found out that, I mean, it seems like that Saturday would be one of your busiest days.
Right, you would think, but
Yeah.
people seem to already be out and about. And it really isn't one of those things where people are, you know, it doesn't seem to be. So
Well, you need to get out and flag a thing. So you didn't come in or something. Come on.
I've never been that kind of person. It's the wrong one. Yeah, wrong one for that.
Well, that's
So,
surprising to me. It seems like it would be better for them to, all the people coming through, especially on those 3 months or whatever it is.
right, right,
I'm,
right.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense, but I'm okay with you.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm okay with it.
City Manager Young, you had a question?
Actually, I just had one point that I wanted to mention. Director Mole has been very good about meeting with me on about twice a month. So any type of operational piece or other concerns too are things that we can also discuss, as well as having the council liaison. So as far as the city is concerned, we're getting enough updates. So as long as the council is receiving the type of information you need, or if at any time you need additional information, we're also available to help facilitate that.
Thank you.
At any point, in that it's one of those things, we have that kind of relationship. We should, as a community, have that type of relationship, that if there was something that was a concern for the council, I would have no problem coming in and addressing those. So that at any time.
I think when we set up the schedule, there were a lot of concerns from the council
Mhm.
about the chamber and how business was being run.
Right.
I do feel like those are gone. We don't seem to have those, and so an adjustment would be in order. And so I see a lot of positive energy coming out of the chamber.
Thank you.
That's nice.
So are there any further questions or comments from counselors? I will entertain a motion. I would just like to mention that I will be abstaining from this from any implied conflict of interest. So what the council would like to do.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Angela, would you please take the vote?
Counselor Richards,
Yes.
Counselor Gorley,
Yes.
Pro Tem Mueller,
Yes.
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
and Counselor Thorstad.
Yes.
We have 6 ayes and 1 abstention. I don't know if I said that correctly. But this passes and moves on. Thank you so much for your time, Director Mole. Have a good evening. Moving on to the next item on our agenda, we will hop back up to letter A, request for council action approving resolution 22 and 23 to forgive interfund loans. Do we have a staff report?
We do, and I'm going to give a quick introduction, and then I'm actually going to hand it over to our part-time director, Brown, to discuss this further. So we have 2 interfund loans that one was approved in 2018 and one was approved in 2020. And really, they weren't remembered quite as well as we would have liked throughout the budgeting processes over the past few years. So our current budget is already designed without having these interfund loans. So the loans are already within the city, so it's just loaning money from one department to another. So we are requesting at Director Brown's recommendation that we forgive those loans, because the amount of time and effort that it would take to move everything back and forth, as opposed to keeping our budget moving forward and not really trying to upset the apple cart, so to speak, really seems to be in the best interest of the city. But I'm going to turn it over to Matt Brown now to discuss it more in detail.
Thank you. So There are two resolutions on the docket tonight. I'll talk about resolution number 23 first. That's the easiest one to explain to you. It was a resolution done in 2020, as City Manager Kelsey had stated. It is a $206,000 loan that was originally from the Transportation or Street Fund to the Street Improvement Fund. In our current fund structure, those two funds are now one. So it would be no different than taking money out of your checking account and then putting it back into a checking account. So that's kind of a easy thing to correct. The other loan was back in 2018 for $800,000. It was made from the Water Depreciation Fund to the Building Reserve Fund. Those funds were specifically spent on the City Hall remodel project. So that loan was $800,000. What we found with both of these loans is when we're currently going through the 22 audit, and in that audit process, it was discovered that the yearly payments had not been made. This is a transition time from your previous finance director to me coming in, and the interfund loans weren't discussed or mentioned in the budget document, and so I was unaware of them. And also the current finance staff that is here was unaware of them, as well as Kelsey. So we never budgeted to make those payments in what was the 22 budget, and it currently in the 23 and 24 budget. So we are looking at basically forgiving those loans. It would be roughly about $600,000 or so remaining based on the 21 audit for the $800,000 that would be forgiven. Essentially, to do this interfund loan back in 2018, you have to, as a council, declare surplus revenue from your water fund or your water depreciation fund to be spent on other projects, which you legally can do as an entity and a government agency. So if there are any questions, that's what we're proposing. The cost of that $800,000 loan, I believe, was about $100,000 or so a year in payments. That was not counted into the budget this year or in future years. So it would be a somewhat drastic increase in expenses for your general fund. That is kind of teetering on kind of we're healthy, but another $100,000 would make a pretty significant difference.
Any questions from counselors?
Madam Mayor, if I may, is there penalties for doing this type of forgiveness or
No.
just?
No penalties, no
Okay.
interest payments, nothing that you would have to worry about back paying or anything like that.
And it's acceptable to do with the Secretary of State or whoever the budget?
Yes,
I'm sorry.
it's
Okay.
allowed within the ORS statutes.
Okay.
Any other questions of counselors? Okay. I will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. And you get to choose which one you're going to write down. Angela, would you please take the vote?
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Pro Tem Mueller,
Yes.
Counselor Gorley,
Yes.
Counselor Richards,
Yes.
Counselor Thorstad,
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez.
We have 7 ayes and no nays. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, request for council action approving resolution 24 to update salary schedules.
All right, thank you. So this is another one for me. So this wasn't something that we were necessarily planning on doing. And I do want to start out with both that all of this is well within the budget and is budgeted and should be fine for the next few years as well. We are looking at a couple increases for a few positions, and I'm going to walk you through all of them. If you look at the page that has for resolution number 24 for Exhibit A, it is looking at 4 different positions. Now, the main one that I would like to discuss with you all is the Administrative Services Director position. And so The Administrative Services Director is changing the position from Administrative Services Manager to Administrative Services Director. And the reason for this is we have had a couple of very strong applicants for Administrative Services Manager. Because Director Brown is doing such a good job, we are keeping him for the next little while as our contracted finance director. Matt has been doing a fantastic job with all of the various finances and so forth. There are quite a few positions that are currently under that position or under the finance department. And one of the things that we want to look at is the person that we have given an offer to. Her name is Cecily Pretty. She has a background in managing council in San Antonio. She also has a background in public works, including utility billing, and quite a few other pieces. What we're proposing is we're planning on doing a reorg. And this part is, part of my duties is looking at the organizational structure. But in order to have things a little bit more symmetrical throughout the city, to look at the various departments and who they are managing, we're going to be moving the courts staff, which is 1 full-time and 2 part-time, so it equals about 2 FTEs, and the utility billing under the administrative services. Now, those additional duties are going to be extensive. This particular person that we are hiring for this position has background in these areas, and so we think can do a really excellent job in helping to support them. This also allows for our finance manager, Cindy Robeck, to work with our new accountant, we are in the process of hiring right now. We just made an offer today on really catching up on bank reconciliation, cleaning up all of the various finance pieces, and working with Matt. And in this way, we can separate this a little bit because this is honestly a lot, and this department needs to be reorged for now in order to be as efficient as possible. When you look at the Administrative Services Director, we're going to be bringing in at step A. We're trying to have it as a director role. We also are now over 10,000 people. This position also oversees HR and helps with union negotiations and all of these various pieces. As we're moving forward, I really feel strongly that this is a position that is needed in order to just manage the sheer size that we are starting to have to work through. So we also have additional projects that are coming forward and so forth. And this person will be also helping with council, with committees, with risk management, with HR, managing courts, and managing utility billing, which I think is more than enough to deserve a director role. So that is why we are presenting that. We're also moving forward on trying to increase the financial operations manager position salary, and that's the second one that you see highlighted there. That is Cindy Robeck. I think Cindy has been here every single Friday and multiple Saturdays. The amount of items that she's taking on, helping with the bank reconciliation. She's going to be taking on additional roles. She's working closely with Matt Brown, and this is how we can continue to make this finance situation work. As you all know, getting finance director is very, very challenging. We're very, very fortunate to have Matt. Still working on trying to make him full-time, but he's getting almost tired of me joking about that. But at some point it's going to happen. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I'm really trying. And no pressure. But as he and I were talking about keeping this situation working, one of the things that we talked about is continuing to have Cindy work at the level that she's working at. And that is, if we are doing that, that is something that I think deserves a raise. Otherwise, I think she could easily go elsewhere. I don't believe she will, but I do think it's important that we continue to support our people. The third one that you see is the utilities manager. This is actually Stephen Haney's position. I think you all know how incredibly fortunate we are to have Stephen and his multiple certificates and certifications managing both our wastewater and water treatment facilities. And so this is also something where if we needed to replace any of those positions, it will be a significant cost to the city. And so we're actually doing a smaller increase than it would cost to have to replace any of these roles. So while it does look like we are increasing, it actually can be a cost savings. Next, I do want to talk about the library director. Over the past few years and historically, we've always had the library director as a significantly lower pay scale than the other directors. Our library director still has, what, 3.5 full-time when you put them all together positions. Yes, and also has been developing partnerships with the school district. It's going to be looking at potentially bringing in additional grant funding for the new library, has been already bringing in grant funding for program, has greatly expanded programs, has works as part of the executive team as part of things like Harvest Festival and all of these other pieces, helps with painting projects, helps with the homeless. She's a valued member of the executive team and should be, I think, paid at a similar level as the other directors. We're trying to keep this a little bit more standardized as we're moving forward, partially to retain the really fantastic team we currently have, and also partially because we're already seeing growth in all of these departments. Finally, I want to talk about a public works director who has, I think, should also be at a similar level to the CAD and finance director pay positions. Our public works director is a rock star who I wouldn't have probably been able to survive this year without. So, and could easily have gone to another city and probably been paid close to twice as much. So again, trying to make this standardized and on a more comparable level to both each other and closer to some of the other cities that quite honestly, we are starting to actually compete against. People are starting to look at Sweet Home as areas to start new developments, as areas to move to. We're getting a lot of national and local interest. And as we're going to continue to grow, I think we need to make sure that we are retaining our people so that we can support that type of growth. So this is what I'm presenting to you all. I do want to let you know this is all very well budgeted, and honestly, our savings with Matt's salary for him being part-time covers all of this and then some. So if there's any other questions, please let me know.
I have a question,
Yes.
if I may.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for the first 3 lines you have there, utilities manager, the finance operation manager, and administrative service director. Those are going to be 3 people, right? Doing those for those 3 people. So where is Cindy? Who is her boss now?
So Cindy's boss is Matt.
Okay, so that doesn't change it.
No.
So I got one more comment, and I do think that there are people that deserve from the public works side of it for sure. And I'm not opposed to any of those I talked to today. But we do have a good one here, and we do also, Stephen's a good guy too. And they're both doing a good job. And I've told you before, we wouldn't be where we were or where we are if it wasn't for them, and including Tricia. She has been a big help for us too. Now, if we could just get that word, never mind, I'm going to say something. He stopped paying attention.
Any other questions or comments from counselors?
Madam Mayor, may I say something?
Yes.
I just, normally I would have a little bit of heartburn with increasing salaries and pay, but I understand that our dollars aren't worth as much as they used to be because of inflation, and our staff work really hard to support our city, understaffed, underpaid, overworked. And I just really think that retention and recruitment are super important to support you and everybody else. So the little bit of extra that we would spend to retain and recruit some people is going to serve us in a great way for a long time. So I would say I was for it.
Any other?
I have
Yes.
a question.
Mhm.
So the library director, does that actually come out of the levy or out of the general fund?
So that would come out of the levy.
Okay. So that really does help. And so the next thing is, there's no other information here as to original, what we are currently doing or percentage of increases. There's nothing to compare these numbers with historically for us.
So I can actually talk you through that if you would like. Like for example, the financial operations manager was part of the associate planner and communications manager. So that piece is getting moved down exactly to the financial, to now below that. So that was the salary range before. And the administrative services director was in the same salary range as the operations manager in tourism and economic development coordinator. So, as was the utility manager. And then the public works director was exactly the same as what the library director is now being presented as.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So I have one more question, if I might. So is that about the same amount of money for 5% like the union people folk got? Is it around that number?
It's around that number.
Okay. So it's around by 10% or is it down about?
No, it varies a little bit, and it's more looking at the salary range. However, for example, like with the administrative services director, that position at the A scale ends up being very, very similar to what the E scale was with the services manager. So a lot of this is more of trying to set this up for in the future and for being able to have retention. It's not going to actually make that much of a difference financially right now.
Oh, my last thing is this going to be retro back to where it started?
It will not be retroactive. It would be
Not like the union would have been done?
so this would be for moving forward after this.
That's all.
Yeah, we wouldn't be doing any retroactive.
Oh, Tim Muller, did you have any questions?
I was just gonna bring up that a lot of the salaries that are all under the levies, again, like I've mentioned in the past, levies are performance driven. So if library director or the police chief or somebody don't do a good job, or their officers don't do a job or whatever, that will reflect back come time vote when they go vote for a levy. So the salaries, if it's falling incomparable, and that's what is being thinking by the levy, then I'm okay with that. But just as a reminder that levies are salaries based on levies and performance.
Any other comments or questions from other counselors?
Say one more thing, Madam Mayor. Did you say that some of these positions are going to add additional job descriptions? So we're actually saving money by not hiring additional people because certain directors are going to take on those roles?
I would put it in some ways in like the way that we are currently structured for our finance director, who again is doing a fantastic job. We are saving quite a bit of money in having him as a contracted part-time finance director. And by moving some of that to the administrative services, that still is getting the type of coverage while we still can utilize most of those savings.
Yes, go ahead.
So when Matt comes full-time, which we're working on that, How does that change the equation?
I have a plan for that. So,
I don't want him to hear that.
so some of the things that we're also looking at and that we're also doing is, our library director has brought in quite a few thousand in grants and in other revenue. We've been also bringing in additional grants. The next council item, I'm going to talk to you about some other revenue that is coming into our general fund as we can have these roles filled and not be looking at recruiting additional people, but retaining them. We can focus on other projects that can continue to bring in more revenue and can continue to bring in more grant funding. We would actually, with our current budget structure, knocking on wood, and as long as the economy is staying similar, we would, even with following this, be able to fund a full-time finance director, as well as these positions in the future. So all of that has been discussed, and Matt and I even discussed it a little bit beforehand. Not that he would take a position, but that we have the financial backing to be able to move forward with this.
Okay. Any further comments? I'd like to say that I agree with Councilor Sanchez and Pro Tem Muller, and that retention is really important. And I think we have really quality employees working for us. Each of them contributes something to our city that is important and valuable. So I appreciate City Manager Young trying to standardize and also make some of these more equitable. So I appreciate that. And so I am willing to entertain a motion on this item.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Angela, please take the vote.
Pro Tem Muller,
Yes.
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Gorley,
Yes.
Counselor Thorstad,
Yes.
Counselor Richards,
No.
Counselor Sanchez.
Yes. We have 6 ayes and 1 nay. Moving on to the next item.
Madam Mayor, I have one more question. So the person you picked lives in somewhere. Are we paying for her travel to get up here?
We are not. We are giving
Okay.
her a $500 stipend for some of the moving expenses, but that is all. She's moving otherwise on her own
They're
accord.
probably going to cover her gas for 13 miles.
I know. I actually feel pretty bad about that. And I think you are really, really going to like her. She's doing her best to be here before, provided this now was approved, to be here before Harvest Festival. So I'll be reaching out to her and seeing if we can move her
Let
forward.
her pack all that stuff up and put it on a train.
Put it on a train all the way from Texas.
Well, we're glad that she's able to come aboard, and we're looking forward to having the extra assistance. So I know that you guys need that right now. So moving on to item D, request for council action approving personal services contract with the Community Services Consortium.
All right, thank you. And that's me again. And this one I am very excited to talk about. Okay, so this one is a little bit of background. Bless you. Lynn County had some funding that was the COVID ESG CV grant funds that had been going out to some other agencies. This money ended up not being fully utilized, which is part of the reason why you're going to see all of this is a very, very short time period. Commissioner Tucker had worked with the housing authority on having them reallocate it and bring it back to us. Then the Community Service Consortium has been working with the city as part of the MAC group for the homelessness funding as we have been working through all of those pieces. Because of our good relationship over the past year and a little bit over that with everything that we have been doing with the homelessness and with the FAC and all of the various work that the council members have been doing, as well as our emergency services declaration. They brought forward the idea of putting the rest of this funding to Sweet Home. And so they've been working with us, and I need to thank Commissioner Tucker and Councilor Sanchez and all of you and the Health Committee and mayors and everybody for all of the work that has been done on trying to bring all of these pieces together. And now the Community Services Consortium is going to be given the money by the county and as a pass-through that is then coming directly to Sweet Home. So this contract is with the Community Services Consortium for up to $610,708. So the way that we have been working through this, and I need to thank staff because this has been a lot, and this has been really fast, like extremely fast. All of this just sort of happened. I was reviewing the contract over the weekend. I was only able to put it on the agenda yesterday, and now we are trying to move this forward. We actually have to expend this money by September 30th. And so it's a little bit like Brewster's Millions. If anybody has saw that movie, I remember that from when I was a kid. And we have a plan, and it's actually a pretty good plan. And so I'm looking over at the police chief and at Public Works and actually everybody. We've all been working on this, and we have another meeting on it tomorrow. But we have about $300,000 in expenses that we believe we're going to be able to be reimbursed for that would then go back into the general fund. And this would include security services, Sean Morgan's salary, quite a few staff salary times that we have been spending on some of these pieces. Cindy Roebuck has been doing a great job of getting a lot of the reports ready, and so has Penny on so that we can go back and get reimbursed. And it should be around $300,000. Then we have another about $300,000 of potential equipment that we're looking at. And I do want to put the caveat out there that there are some things that we are looking at. They all have to be approved before we can purchase them for this grant, and it's very, very specific. So we have been working with the CSC and with the housing authorities and so forth on what we can and cannot do. Some of the things that we're looking at are a side-by-side vehicle, so that there can be additional outreach to go find those that are homeless that are out not on main roads, so that we can do outreach there and try to find appropriate housing and or bring into the shelters. We're also looking at a potential shower trailer or bathroom that could be it would be by the police station in the overflow area, and it would be under watch. It would not be just open, but it would be available for those that are camped in that space that are also following the rules and things like that, so that it can also help give that support and help getting people ready to be getting into other situations that are hopefully a little bit more permanent and with more support, and possibly not even in Sweet Home, gives us an opportunity to work through all of that. We're also looking at lockers and a few other things, as well as upcoming security costs and so forth. So we're still working through all of this. We have about 2 more weeks, so we can get that done. But we're really excited because we think that this will both support what's going on in Sweet Home, will help keep it cleaner, will help incentivize those from not being in doorways and also coming back into the police station overflow. It helps us with outreach so that we can continue with some of those other pieces and hopefully getting people into more permanent, better solutions in general. And then it also is going to be bringing back revenue back into our general fund that we can use for both other homelessness initiatives or just general fund projects in general. So anyway, that's what this is. But again, it's going to be really fast. And so please forgive me for only having it on the agenda for a day. It's really kind of the only way I could do this.
Thank you for that report. Are there any questions from counselors?
Madam Mayor, I have. So now the 300,000, if that's the number, we're going to put that in a general fund. And then we can decide what we want to put somewhere or we want to spend it or whatever. No matter. Okay. So there's no thing we can't stop doing that.
Not on that piece because it will be reimbursed back to
Yeah.
us.
So I have one for the chief. Are you okay with having that stuff down there by City Hall or by the police station? I mean, the extra stuff.
Yeah, I think I mean, obviously it will have to be managed somehow, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be an opportunity for people to, I was talking to Sean Morgan about it the other day and he's like, some of these people, if they want to go get a job interview or, try to do something along those lines, there's going to be an opportunity for them to, clean up and do what they need to do. So I think it will probably be a good thing.
Well, I have something I would think it would be good for you is to turn your desk around and watch it all the time.
Believe me, I look out the window, I check on it.
Okay, I think that's
Counselor Sanchez, did you have a question?
I just have a comment. I'm just so very excited about this money. I'm so thankful to Commissioner Tucker. None of this would have happened without all of us agreeing to the emergency declaration for the homelessness state of emergency. And I know that we had a lot of heartburn about where the funding was going to come to support the FAC with the security. So the fact that we're getting that reimbursed is incredible. And I just want to say thank you to Kelsey and everybody that's been a part of this. That MAC collaboration group happened because of Sweet Home's homelessness state of emergency. And I just saw today that because Lynn County was a homelessness state of emergency because of what Sweet Home did, Governor Kotek is giving Lynn County $1.9 million. So $2.5 million is coming to our city and our county because the way Sweet Home led on that. And I'm just so thankful for all the work that you've done.
So you're doing your list and trying to do things. Last time I was down there, they were putting up ramps to go into the front door. And I've always had a concern that once it starts turning icy and winter weather, people who might be unstable using that when it really does need a roof and possibly a larger space at the top. If there's any funding that could be used for that, that would be amazing.
Can I comment on that really fast? Unfortunately, this particular funding cannot be used for any construction, which is so frustrating. However, there will be funding then that's coming back into general funds that then council can choose to do with as you wish. So, thank you.
Any other questions of counselors? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved as recommended.
So we have a motion to approve the contract and authorize the city manager to sign in a second. So Angela, please take the vote.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Thorstead,
Yes.
Pro Tem Mueller,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Trask,
yes.
Counselor Gorley,
Yes.
and Counselor Richards.
Yeah.
We have 7 ayes and no nays, so that moves forward. And I just want to reiterate what Counselor Sanchez said. It really was because Sweet Home led, and there was some tension around that whole emergency declaration. But I want to appreciate Counselor Sanchez for bringing it forward to us, and it really has benefited this community. So, moving on, we have no ordinance bills. Reports of committees. Each of you should have received at your desk a just 2-page document that I put together regarding committees, just as a clarification, but also as we have a couple of new committees that have started since I've become mayor. So I just wanted to have these reviewed by all of you. There's probably going to be some changes in the near future. That one we might discuss tonight. But I just want to reiterate, as a liaison to these committees, your role is to report back and let us know what's going on in the community and give us any feedback. So if you find something interesting out, maybe there's an organization that wants to provide a service, that type of information is what we hope to get from you all as you come back. It's intended that counselors be liaisons on committees and then a separate chairperson chair the committee. But that's just some basic guidelines. I think that Counselor Richards, did you have any news you wanted to share?
Yes. Is there any way you could take me off the library one? No offense, Megan. I just don't have time. They're at the worst possible time for me.
Okay. So at your request, we'll remove you from the library board. Is there somebody present who would be willing to step into that role? (4:30). Which Thursdays? Second Thursdays of the month. Thank you so much, Pro Tem Mahler. I will appoint you as a liaison to that committee. So just as you guys' review, and now if anybody has any reports they would like to share from your committees, now is the time.
Oh, I don't have a report, but my traffic and safety committee meets again tomorrow, so hopefully I don't waste my time once again.
I hope that you have a
fingers crossed people show up.
good. All right. Okay, go
Am I
ahead.
still on that committee?
I did appoint you to that committee, so
I haven't
you
got any notifications about any meetings.
okay. So we'll make sure that that's
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
for which committee?
traffic and safety. Yes.
So
Public traffic.
Counselor Richards,
There need to be two.
I had actually said that he was
Him do. Stop. We don't
no.
need two counselors.
It's I had permitted him to go and also attend. Sometimes there's two counselors that have attended committees before, so it's not somebody.
What does
Yeah,
someone go?
yeah, but it's also in case you can't be there, then you can have him as a
Yeah, I said I
backup.
didn't.
Okay. Well, my apologies for any confusion there, but yeah.
so I'll also have to apologize from the city. We did not realize that, so we have not been inviting you, but we can change that.
Thank you.
and We can have you invited.
So that brings up another topic. I've noticed that, or I've heard from counselors that some of them have had a hard time receiving some notices from the city. So if any counselors have had any issues regarding emails or receiving emails from the city, if you think you've never heard, about a particular item, please stick around a little bit after this committee meeting, council meeting, and Adam will help you to make sure that you are actually receiving notifications from the city. So I think it's a setting in your email. So any other reports from counselors? Okay.
The arts and culture ad hoc be bringing some language forward right away about recommended process for the council to approve or disapprove for as we start going forward and soliciting for murals for our community. We don't have a regular process for that. And so we'll have that conversation. And then I'd like to also in the near future present the council with some of the things we've been discussing for our community. Get your input on those. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that report. Anybody else? Nope. Moving on, city manager's report.
Thank you. So I just have a couple things because y'all have gotten to hear me a lot this evening. One of them is that the Harvest Festival is coming up on October 7th. And so hoping to see many of you there. I also have to give a little bit of shout out to Angela Clegg and everybody else in that we are already currently sold out for vendor spots. which is amazing that that's happened already. But she's looking, she's not turning it off. She's looking at ways to expand. So we're going to try to make room, but it's very exciting that we're already at this point and we still have almost a month until we're there. So, but please keep bringing the vendor requests. We'll keep trying to figure out space if we can. And we need Chilean pie judges and ideally gluten-free and contestants. So, also the painting project is still underway, and in that we have Bolt's Fitzpatrick Painting, who we are so appreciative to, and Public Works continuing to paint throughout this month. We have painted 31 businesses so far, and there's another 5 in the works. So we're really excited that by the end of this month, we'll be looking at least 36 businesses that have been painted. We are getting local and national attention. This is spreading out all throughout the country. I'm getting funny pings from people. And we had, was it this morning that we had a woman from Lowell reach out to us who has never been to Sweet Home, but just on our painting project is interested in being a vendor at our community market and potentially at the Harvest Festival. So it's really exciting to see all of this. So I want to thank everybody again for everyone who's been involved in the Art and Culture Committee and all of the volunteers, and huge thank you to Public Works, and that group has been out there just knocking out the rest of this that the volunteers weren't able to get to. Speaking of volunteers, we are looking for the additional, for people who are interested in learning leadership and working with the city, and also wanted to send out the invitation for the counselors. The REI Leadership Development Training is going to be starting on October 19th. And so please consider signing up for that. And also want to bring that out to the community if anybody is interested in that. It's for both youth and adults, so 12 and up. And would love to have particularly some of the next leaders and volunteers who would be interested in working with our city. And then finally, the 98th annual conference for the League of Oregon Cities is coming up on October 12th through 14th. And right now, if any of you want to go, we are suggesting that if you can, to go ahead and register, and then we'll reimburse you. However, if you need help, contact us and we'll try to get you registered and help with all of that. But that's a great thing for the council members to go to, and I'm going to see if I can attend as well. So that's it from me. So thank you all very much.
Is that Eugene?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's in Eugene.
Mhm.
So it's driving distance even.
May I ask, if you've never been to the League of Oregon Cities, it's really something to go to, because you learn a lot of stuff that you never knew.
Great.
So it's really good. And it's I don't know exactly where it is in Eugene, but I had him been a couple times, and it was really good. Blair and did you go with us once? Well, you might not have been here, but you went with us once.
Mhm.
Greg went with us,
Yeah.
and they all got sick.
Okay.
When Ray was here, yeah.
It is a good event to attend. You do learn some information that is beneficial for the community, and just on leadership, it's helpful. So if anybody would like to register, please feel free to do so. I also had a question regarding if we're going to have, hopefully by the end of the month, 36 that have been painted, buildings painted. What happens to any remainders on the list?
So that's a good question. So that's something that we're still working through. One, we also have been waiting to see if additional volunteer groups wanted to come up. Otherwise, we're offering those businesses the paints if they would like to paint it themselves, or if they would like to schedule a volunteer weekend and they can bring in volunteers, we can help support them in that.
Okay.
Then I'd also want to point out one other piece. If somebody's outside of this group or they never got a chance to sign up and they're still interested, we still have our SEEP grants out there. And this is something that, we still want to support all of the businesses throughout Sweet Home.
I saw that the Gleaners had taken advantage of that, and so that looked really good, the paint there. So, yeah. I also just want to say thank you to Public Works. I know during 2018, when we had the Capitol Christmas tree, I think Public Works was tired of Christmas by the time Christmas arrived. So hopefully they're not too tired of paint, but we do appreciate all the work that they're putting into it. So thank you, guys. That's all I have for my mayor's report. Moving on, department directors' reports. Any questions or comments regarding library or KED or Public Works? Nope.
Madam Mayor, can I ask a question? Director Daisy, somebody had said something to me about computers for the library. Is that something that we're looking at updating, upgrading? I honestly don't know anything about the computers, but a constituent asked me if there was any information on that.
So I'm currently working with the our IT vendor, cannot remember their acronym, COG, to look at what it would cost to replace our 6 public computers, or if they just need to be refreshed with their software. So that's the current plan.
Great question. Any other questions of counselors? No? Moving on, council business for the good of the order. No comments? Okay, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:35 p.m.